Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. How are you, everyone?
Good.
Good. Thumbs up. Awesome. Good. Well, thanks for inviting me.
So just want to thank you so much for the podcast that you did a couple weeks ago on your listing presentation, which is awesome for us to record and have that for people to review whenever they feel like they want to, but also for new people coming on board to get a chance to listen to your presentation, how you move through that. One of the things that I know that this group was looking forward to is having you walk through some of the objections that we get from sellers and your responses and how you would respond to those objections. I asked them to give me some ideas of objections that they hear outside of commission. Commission is number one right now. So we can certainly, it'd be beneficial to talk about the commission objection as a group. But then, I sent you over the list this morning. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but
I'll have you read it to me.
Great. We've got some questions for you lined up. So take it away. I'm going to record this again so we can keep it for posterity, but not put it out there for the whole world to see.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Wendy, I don't have the list in front of me, so I'll have you read me the question, and happy to, and some of you, how many people here have been on a listing appointment with me? It is only Dan. Linda, have you been on a listing appointment with me?
I've only done a phone one.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
And that was it.
Okay. All right. So I cover all of this in a listing presentation. I will tell you that how you position yourself prior to the appointment and certainly at the appointment makes objection handling techniques, including commission, minimizes it. If you're in a hurry, if you're unprepared, you show up late, or you haven't properly sold the value of a listing specialist, then those objections come and they're often difficult to overcome. But if you take your time and you go through the process that we've outlined for you and that I did in that podcast, you're going to find just that alone minimizes many of the commission. That doesn't eliminate them, but it minimizes many of the commission obstacles, especially when you start getting into the value of a team and what we're going to do to market and advertise their property. And so they begin to see the value of it before you actually jump to commission. Conversely, if you ever take a phone call, most people want to know only two things. What's my home worth and how much is your commission, right? If you give that over the phone, you give that prior to sharing the big picture of what we do and how we do it as a real estate team, you will almost certainly lose every single time. So it's really important that you walk through the portfolio that we've given you a copy of, right? You have a copy of the portfolio, and use that listing presentation that we talked about, because then you set the stage for your value. Real estate agents today that are selling the home in 24 hours, sold the home in 1 day, sold the home in 2 days, they are destroying our industry. Do you see this? You're building the for sale by owner market. You're telling them why they should not hire you as a listing specialist when we sell it in 1 day, in 2 days. That's why I like that 9-day strategy that we often talk about. You know what else you're doing when real estate agents in our industry take pictures or photos with their iPhone? They're saying we don't deserve that commission. And so there's a level of professionalism that has to exist in our industry in order to merit the compensation and the commission that we are asking as a real estate team. And there's a lot of ways to handle it, but setting that stage is really the foundation of all of it. So Wendy, what's the first question?
So the first question I have is, we aren't sure exactly when we want to move, but we will contact you when we're ready.
Oh, how many people have gotten this one? Man, I can almost tell it's coming, right? And listen, I never like to be the type of, I always say this, I'm not high pressure, I'm no problem, no pressure. I'm no problem, because I don't want to pressure people. Every time I pressure them into taking a listing, guess what happens the next day? We want to cancel. And so this one, I take a little bit different approach than the average real estate agent. See, I think you're looking for one of three answers. The first answer you're looking for is a yes. I'd like to move forward with you. Kara, I'd like to hire you. Linda, I'd like you to get the ball rolling. Michael, yes, I'd like you to prepare the marketing. Daniel, let's go ahead and get started. Like, we want a yes, right? Like, okay, we're going to sign right here. Then the second answer that you're looking for is a no. We don't have the equity in our home to make this transition. We don't qualify for the replacement property that we want to purchase. Or maybe there's some other factor. We're waiting for something to happen in order for this to take place, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. The job relocation didn't go through. The third one is what I call a qualified maybe. You have a yes, you have a no, you have a qualified maybe. The qualified maybe is where you ought to become very, very good and very, very talented. When somebody says, I don't know, let me think about it. I don't know, let me pray about it. I don't know, let me talk to my family about it. We'll get back to you. And I think there are several ways that you can effectively handle this objection. The first thing that you have to remember in these objections is that you've got to have some form of empathy. And the empathy might be something like, oh man, I understand. That's a big decision. I get it. I might want to think about it too. Like, you should have some form of empathy in that discussion, right? For you to say, what do you have to think about? Like, so have some empathy. And then I would say there's a turn, there's a twist, there's a direction that you need to take it because you do this every day for a living and they don't. And that direction might be something like this. Why don't I take a few minutes and I'll step outside, giving the two of you a measure of privacy and opportunity to have a conversation, whether you'd like to move forward. Does that sound fair enough for you? And just excuse yourself from that table and then step outside. That's a whole lot better than you leaving, right? And then you leave and then you got to come back and sign the paperwork. So take a minute and say, hey, why don't I just step outside? I did this one time in a house in Antioch. It was at 534 Burwood. I'll never forget it. He actually said, I'm interviewing 3 agents. We need to talk about it. And the 2 of them were there. And I said, why don't I step outside? Well, it was pouring down rain. I mean, it was raining like I've never seen it rain like that before. It was just dumping. And I said, I'm going to step outside. And they didn't have a patio, they didn't have a porch, and I am getting drenched. I literally am in the rain. They forgot all about me. They're having this conversation. I come in, I'm completely drenched, and they said, we appreciate that opportunity to have the conversation. We want to go ahead and move forward with you. And we signed the paperwork and moved forward and ended up selling their home. So one option that you have is to say, look, I'm perfectly fine with that. Why don't I give you a measure of privacy? Why don't I step outside? Why don't I afford you the opportunity to talk to one another? And since I'm already here, let me just take a step outside. I've done that time and time again. People don't normally think of it that way. They think that you're going to leave and then come back a couple of days later. By you doing that, 9 out of 10 times when they come out to get you, you're in the front yard, you're in the backyard, you're waiting in your car, whatever it is, right? When you're invited back, 9 out of 10 times they'll be ready to sign. And that's a very easy strategy to utilize to encourage them to move, not in a rush, because in a rush follows up with a cancellation. Here's another strategy you might want to consider. Think about it in terms of baby steps. You know, when some people, they've not sold their home in 30 years. Now you at their home is a monumental event. You know it because they have perfectly vacuumed their carpet prior to you getting there. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Every light in the house is on. The jazz music is in the background. The fireplace is burning. This is a big moment for them. Take it down a few notches. Hey guys, we're just going to take the first step. in this process. First step in the process, while you prepare the home for sale, I'll be preparing the marketing material. Isn't that what we do when we list the home? Now that's a baby step. It's just the first step. Now, I don't have a buyer for you yet. We're not on the market. We're not going to be showing the home. So take it to that person that you walked in their home, and you know that you being there is a moment in their life that they're never going to forget. I remember when I had that realtor over. I remember when I was ready to sell my house. Take the pressure off by saying, hey guys, this is just the first step. And if you want to move forward, we'll just take this baby step. And then the next step is we'll put the house on the market. And the next step, I'll find an offer. And the next step, we'll accept the offer. Just, it's baby steps along the way. And for the right person, that can be far more helpful, especially somebody who's very, very nervous in the process. Does that make sense? Let me share with you one more option that you have. Remember that and today is a perfect day for us to talk about, because I just spent some time with you on the market stats, right? And I said, market's changing. Like, the market is changing. You may not feel it because you're looking at it anecdotally. That one home I had, it got 3 offers. But statistically, I'm telling you, the market is changing. What your client ought to know is that the value that you think that the property is worth, what you think the list price ought to be, is only good for one day. It doesn't exist tomorrow. Do you understand that? It doesn't exist. Interest rates go up, inventory increases, demand subsides, new homes come up for sale. It is good for one day. There is an assumption that whatever you told them the home is worth, it's always going to be worth that or more. That is not an accurate assumption, because many of you have been with me when the market shifted, and the market wasn't like what it was today, where we found out what the last home was sold for and then we price it here. In the market to come, and I think we're a ways off, but in the market to come, what it looks like is you have to offer a little bit more for a lot less. Did you hear that? You got to offer something a little bigger, more upgrades, bigger lot, nicer community at a lesser price. That is the market to come. Many of you have heard me say that over and over again, but it was 7 or 8 years ago or 10 years ago. You know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're chasing down the market if you're not the best price on the market, on the MLS. So one way to look at it is say, folks, this is where the market is today. This is the 10, and depending on the market, depending on the city, 10, 12, 14-year bull run on the market, right? Has the real estate market gone up for literally 10, 12, and in some markets, 14 years? It has been climbing. And this is where we stand today. But know that this may not be where we stand in the future. And if you've been with me, I always take the sheet of paper, because I try to use more visual, and I'll flip it around and say, if I come back and instead of all these homes being pending and sold, but they're all active and nothing sold, I have a very different market. Then I'm not telling you to minimize or paint or carpet. I'm saying we need granite counters. We need new cabinetry. We need a new vanity, right? You know that this market has enabled us to sell properties with minimal repairs and get the highest possible price. They're selling, $500,000 homes in Antioch with Formica countertops today, right? Like, we're not getting into doing those things that we used to do and that were a necessity to sell the property. And that's the nature. So another option that you could look at is the approach of, what I'm sharing with you is accurate and is relevant. We have a pulse on the market like nobody else, especially you being a listing specialist. This is the area you specialize in. But if it doesn't mean that will continue to remain. And if there's ever a time where this is underscored, this ideology of, look, the market shifts, the market moves, isn't it right now with COVID? Isn't it right now with an election? Isn't it right now with the Contra Costa County knocking on the door of moving back into a red tier? Like, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty in the stock market. Yesterday, the stock market, boom, Last week, we had some major drops in the stock market. Like these are areas of uncertainty and volatility, and home values and the ability to sell your home can be impacted by them. Okay, so I'm giving you 3 or 4 different ways to handle it. If none of those work, then another option is to end every appointment with an appointment. To me, this is the ultimate follow-up. So Wendy, I'm going to role play with you. Wendy, are you there?
Yep, you just got.
So Wendy, I'll role play with you.
Okay.
So if I was to role play with Wendy, I'd say, Wendy, it sounds like, and none of the other things I shared would work. It sounds like you need an opportunity to think about this. Would you agree?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I really need to make sure that, I talk this through with some people around me, and I want to make the right choice at the right time.
Hey, that's no problem, Wendy. I can respect that. And if I was selling my home, I'd probably feel the same way. Why don't I do this? I certainly don't mind. Do you mind if I follow up with you today at 5 o'clock, or would 6 be better?
Could you give me a couple more days to think that through?
Hey, that's no problem, Wendy. Why don't I reach out to you tomorrow morning around 10 o'clock, or would 11 be better?
11 would be great.
Perfect. I'll call you tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to end every appointment with an appointment. Now let's role play this, Wendy. It's 11 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. Ring, ring.
Hi, Rick.
Hey, you already know it's me.
Yes, I do. Sorry.
I guess I'm on caller ID, or she's a stalker or something. I don't know.
Don't answer this phone number.
Hey, Wendy, it's Rick here. How are you?
I'm doing well, and you?
Doing great. Really enjoyed the opportunity to meet with you and your family, and honored to have the ability to help walk you through the process of selling your home. We'll take great care of you and walk you through every step of the way. As promised, you had asked me to give you a call Wednesday at 11 a.m. It's Wednesday at 11. How are you feeling, and are you ready to get?
Yeah, Rick, no, I really appreciate you giving me the space. I've talked with other agents, and they kind of crowd me in, not give me the opportunity to think things through, and I really appreciate that.
That's no problem, Wendy. Happy to help, and you'll find out that we are no problem, no pressure. And so, Wendy, do you think that you'd like to maybe take the first baby step and begin the process of walking through to put your home on the market?
Yes, I love your team, Rick. Especially your listing agent.
Oh, this is the
They're
easiest
just over the top.
I'm going to come over to Wendy's house, and she's going to have cookies and milk ready for me. That's how
right.
easy.
She's going to request Wendy now.
Right.
My point is, if Wendy would have said no, I would have said the same thing. That's no problem, Wendy. I understand. If I was selling my home, I'd want to do the same. I'd want to have some time to think about it too. Wendy, would it be okay if I follow up with you this evening around maybe 5 o'clock, or would 6 be better?
I think I really do need some more time there, more than just a couple hours in the afternoon. So if you could give me a couple days, maybe call me over the weekend, maybe call me Monday.
All right, sounds good. Can I call you Monday at 9, or would 10 be better?
9 would work just fine.
So that's what I call a qualified maybe. It's a maybe if Wendy says, call me back. It's a maybe if Wendy says, call me over the weekend. That doesn't, it's a qualified maybe when she says Monday at 9 a.m. we have an appointment. Even if it's a phone appointment, Zoom appointment, or I'm going to pop by your house, right? And I'm going to do that call until, ring, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that call until Wendy says, yes, I'm ready to get the ball rolling. And I want to remind you that for some people, you can bring a lot of excitement and engagement to the conversation. Like your voice, your vocal, your tone can really help if they're buying their replacement property and they're moving to a place they're excited. For some people, this, it's divorce, it's probate. I'm losing my home to foreclosure. This is an investment property and the tenant's not paying rent. Your ability to be calm and clear and concise is the game changer in this conversation. Michael and I were on an appointment with somebody who's been popping in the office for the last 3 years. And we just tried to keep our tone where she felt comfortable. And we're going to have to do those qualified maybe calls for the next several weeks, week in, week out. And it'll sound like this. Wendy, as promised, I told you I'd give you a call Monday at 9 a.m. It's Monday, 9 a.m. Wendy, would you like to get the ball rolling? Wendy, would you like to take that first step? Wendy, would you like me to come back out and return to your house to share with you how to best prepare it for sale? One of the things that you can do, sometimes some of you give too much on this listing appointment. So for example, if you're walking through the house and you're itemizing every single thing that ought to go and everything that should stay, you've given too much. So another easy one that you can do when somebody says, let me think about it, is that you can make that secondary appointment also the signing appointment. So many of you have been on there when I've done this. So it sounds like this. Great. When I come back out to sign all the paperwork, at that time, I'll be sharing with you how to best prepare your home for sale, going room by room, area by area, giving you some suggestions. Does that sound reasonable to you? The reason I say that is because oftentimes that to them is kind of like the first step in the process. It's a very comfortable thing for how do I best prepare my home for sale? And now you're not covering all of that. Your listing appointment should not be more than an hour. And it should be humming about 40, 45 minutes. That's the length of your appointment. If you're there for longer than an hour, I mean, unless it's a unique circumstance and that particular client merits it, you're probably getting off track. If you're there for 10 or 15 minutes and they haven't signed and you're done, then you probably aren't sharing the value of the team. Does that make sense? And the value of how we're going to market now. I think 35 to 40 minutes generally feels about right in these discussions so that you don't overstay your welcome. You share the stuff that matters most, and you're able to set that follow-up appointment. And if you absolutely have to, you can't get the listing signed on that first appointment, which is always our first option. You make that follow-up appointment to include, I'm going to go through room by room, area by area, and show you how to best prepare the home for sale.
A couple of things for me, Rick. One is I really like the point that you made about this is the value today, right? Because a lot of people say, you know, I want to wait for a couple of weeks or whatever, but that just to let them know that this is the value today. That was very good for me. The other thing that I've learned just being with you on so many appointments is setting the expectation. As you mentioned, setting the expectation even on the phone call when you make the appointment or confirm the appointment. But one of the first things that you say when you meet with people is how, you know, give me the top 3 things that I can help you with in the next 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So you set that expectation. It's not, you're not going to be there for an hour and a half. And quite frankly, they don't want you there that long either. So typically. But that, I think that's super helpful because if you set the expectation and it's 45 minutes and it lasts for an hour, that's okay.
Think about setting the expectation. I call it a safe island. You've heard me use that term before. See, I think you ought to take somebody to a safe island before you try to cross over turbulent waters. What I mean by that is you take the customer, you take the seller, you say, let me take a few moments and share with you what we're going to do this afternoon. Let me take a few moments and just share with you what we're going to do this evening. You're going to find their stress level, their frustration just begins to subside. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you what's most important to you about the sale of your property. Then I found that if we covered 3 things well, we're likely to sell for the highest possible price in the least amount of inconvenience in a reasonable amount of time. And those 3 things are really simple, and it's the same for every property. We've got to price the property right. We have to position it well on the market, and it has to be presented properly. If we can do those 3 P's, pricing, positioning it, and presenting it right, then you'll get the highest possible price, least amount of inconvenience, and you'll do this all in a reasonable amount of time. Does that sound fair to you? Like, this is what we're going to do for the next 30 to 45 minutes. You will find the pressure subside because you've already, in some sense, you gave them a table of contents, didn't you? You gave them the agenda for today. And you can do that when you're on the phone with them as well. You know, here's what we're going to do when I'm together with you. So just relax. And at the end of it, I'll usually say something like, and if you feel comfortable with everything, I'll have you sign some paperwork will allow me to start the process, to get the ball rolling, to start preparing your marketing material. And so I've already kind of created an agenda, and I've already set the expectation that I'm going to ask for their signature. That safe island helps them look out over these chartered waters where they can't see the mainland. Hey, here's where we're going to go, and here's how we're going to navigate, and we're going to successfully reach the destination that you're in.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick. Can I give you another question?
Yeah. I'll try to cover the other ones a little more quickly.
Okay. My mom has a friend whose sister is an agent. I want to talk to them first.
Oh, that's a boy. How many people have had this one? So this one is regularly something that we see, or their neighbor, or the person in PTA, or the person at the church. What I usually say, something along the lines of, Wendy, I can understand that. Boy, I have a lot of friends in real estate too. And we always suggest that you interview to find that right agent. So why don't I schedule a time where I can come over and share with you how we would be able to help best transition you from one home to the next. And then if you decide to work with me, you know, that's great. And if you decide you want to work with them, that's fine too. Like, I just want to create, I want to kind of subside that discussion. When I'm there, if that person is a realtor, okay, if they are a licensed real estate, especially if they're out of the area, this is a big one we miss. I might choose to go the referral option. The referral option might be something along the lines of, I know your mom is an agent in San Francisco. I know you have a family member, you know, in Southern California that's in real estate. This is our market. This is our area. This is where we live. This is where we work. I know this market like the back of my hand, but I know you know, like, and trust mom. So why don't the two of us work together? I'll be your local agent. We'll provide mom some form of compensation, and the two of us will work together to sell your home. Does that sound reasonable to you? And often I'm able to send mom, if I need to, send mom a referral fee, or uncle or brother or cousin a referral fee. When I have made these calls to the agent in San Francisco, that agent in Southern California, they're like, yeah, I really didn't want to go to Antioch, California, or I didn't really want to go to Sacramento. I really didn't want to go to Elk Grove because I don't know the market. I don't belong to the multiple listing. I don't know the point of sale ordinances. I don't know the local title company. Remember, in Southern California, in order to sell property, you have to engage the services of a real estate attorney. It's totally different than it is in Northern California. So if you need to utilize that, then that can oftentimes enable you to work together. So you're not putting mom down. You're not putting, you know, the brother that lives 3 hours away. This consumer gets really the best of both worlds. Now, you can't do that if it was referred to us from an ideal agent or a Dave Ramsey or a Fast Expert, because that is the referral source. There's only one referral source to each and every one of our, we're paying for that lead to come in. We can do it one time. But if it's something that is helpful to partner with that real estate agent in that capacity, that's a great way to do it.
I've done that a couple times, and it works really well because it works for your client. And I one time did it for a client of mine, and it was like her son's best friend from San Francisco. And
it becomes a win-win.
Yeah, and the agent said, you know, you don't even have to pay me a referral fee. I just want to make sure my friend's mom is taken care of. So thank you so much for taking over.
And, you know, when you think of a referral fee, you probably think of 25%. That doesn't have to be. You could give somebody a 10% referral fee. I mean, you originated it, didn't you? You organized it, you set it up, you could give them a 10% referral fee just to say, you know, you're a part of the process. I know they trust you, Mom. This was the first time we met. Why don't we work together? I know the local market, you know them. We'll help them have a successful experience of transitioning from one home to the next. That's often an easy way to do it. The other thing is that I think that you can do on this one is to take your position, and instead of saying, what I'm trying to avoid here is to say something like, you don't want to do that. Oh, you don't want to hire that agent, because they expect that. So here's how I might handle that approach. I might say something like, Wendy, I know that you have a friend in real estate. And, you know, I actually own a house out of state. And can I tell you, if I were going to be interviewing agents, there would be 5 things I'd want to see in the agent. Can I share with you what they are? And since I don't know the agent, you know, this would kind of be fair, right? Because you could then use these 5 things. This is what I would use if I was selling my home, and I've been in the business for a long time. Number 1 is I'd want to make sure they're actively selling properties. So go to Zillow, put in the agent's name. Go to Zillow, put in our team name. Now, already you know we're going to come up number 1, aren't we? Number 2, I'd want to hear the past experience of their customers. In today's world, I call it reviews. So let's look at their reviews. Type in their name, type in the reviews. Type in their team name, type in reviews. See what comes up on the internet. Number 3, I'd want to know that they're endorsed by somebody. Are they endorsed by a particular company? Are they endorsed by Dave Ramsey? Are they endorsed by their city? Have they won any awards in their local market for the way they take care of their clients? I'd want to know that before I sold my home. You should look into that. Number 4, I'd want to make sure they're a team, because if they go on vacation in the middle of my transaction, I want to know that I have somebody there that can help them, that can answer my questions and walk me through the process. And number 5, I'd want to know that they're a specialist, that this is what they do. This is what they do every day. I would never go to a general doctor for a toothache. I'd go to a dentist. I don't have my general mechanic work on my transmission, right? We don't have the general contractor do the engineering of your house or design the architectural plans. You hire specialists for those things. And so whoever you're hiring should be a specialist. All 5 of them will position you at the top. You will have more sales, you will have more reviews, you'll have endorsements, you operate with the largest team, and you're a specialist. That's going to position you really nice if they choose to do that research, and they do the same thing for you. They'll find that you rise to the top with more of those things and will be really well positioned on the internet for them to select you. That is a very easy approach, instead of saying, well, I'm better than them because, you know, well, my dad could beat up their dad. Like, you know, I don't want to get into that. What I want to do is say, well, if I was thinking about selling my home and I was interviewing agents, here's the 5 things I'd want to see. I don't know the agent, so go ahead and research it. And we know that you as a team member on our team will be well positioned on all of them.
Awesome. Thank you, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
So we have maybe about 15 minutes left. So maybe you could talk to us about some commission objections that are out there today. You know, with discounted brokerages that are out there. Maybe you guys could share specifically what you've run into for Rick. We could talk about that for a few minutes and then wrap it up.
Is this helpful to you? I'm looking around. Is this helpful? I'm seeing some heads nod. Yeah, okay. I even see Carlton's head nodding there.
His picture?
Let me share this on commission. Wendy, I'm going to have you stop the recording here just to make sure that we don't have any issues with any commission discussion, because you can't make you can't be in a group of realtors and believe that our team is positioned in the mind of the consumer. There are real estate agents, Century 21, Remax, Berkshire, on and on and on, right? And then there are specialists. And right now, outside of our office, are you aware of any other listing specialists? Because I'm not. And what I'm trying to do is to create a pool of everybody else. Like that's everybody in the industry, and there's a lot of them. And you. And me. And with that comes things, and I talk to the buyer specialist all the time about, like, why can't I list that property? Because I want you to get really, really, really good at writing offers, finding that right home, and getting those offers accepted. And why do I not want you to take out buyers and dilute the process, or work with commercial tenants, or work with be a property manager, or to sell businesses? Because you're licensed to do everything I just mentioned. It's because that particular thing that they're doing of selling their home, they haven't done in the last 10 years, 15 years. They deserve the very best representation possible. And a specialist can generally provide it. So an easy way to do that might be something, and I use this script. If you've been with me before, you've heard me say this. While I'm busy and working and specializing on selling your home, Megan, Julie, Shelby will be working with you, and they specialize in helping you buy a home. We work on the same team. We'll work hand in hand to make sure you have the very best experience. And in some sense, you get 2 agents for the price of 1. Does that sound reasonable to you? Most people, yeah, that makes sense. Like if I hired an attorney, I might want to have a tax attorney, and I might want to have a business attorney, or a divorce attorney, or a family law attorney, or a copyright attorney. Like, I probably don't want to get one attorney to do everything, right? And really, so by creating this, everybody else is here, and all those brands are mixed into that pool, and then us. And in some sense, what I'd really love to create, and we're working on it, we're building it, and you've been on a lot of these appointments, is this thing that sounds like this. In the minds of the consumer, I'm going to interview 2. I'm going to interview a realtor, I'm going to interview a specialist. And I know you're the only one in that bucket, the people that are around this call. Because I think that most people, given an opportunity, would like to interview 2, and you have something that's different. Everybody else that's come through your home, they're all generalists. But see, I'm a specialist. That's what makes me different. Now, why is this important? Because study after study shows a real estate agent is viewed one step above a used car salesman. I don't want to be a real estate agent. I want to be a specialist. Because I believe you are much better than that. I believe I'm much better than that. And everyone on this call is much better about serving their client in a way that helps them transition from one home to the next by getting the highest possible price in the least amount of inconvenience in a reasonable amount of time. Like, I believe we do that really, really well. And we live and drink and eat and breathe this business. And a specialist can help accommodate that goal a whole lot better than all the others that are in that realtor bucket. In some sense, being different in the market provides us opportunities and a sense of professionalism, which then gives us repeat business that being like everyone else would not enable. We would get caught up in that movement of a lack of professionals. And I can't believe the amount of real estate agents, and frankly, they don't even deserve the 2.5%. They don't even deserve the 1% by the poor service that they do for their client. That's not you. I see the videos that we produce, the photos that you produce, and the communication and the reviews and what the client says about their experience with you. And you deserve every dollar that you earn.
Got it. Thank you.
Great question. Yep. Thank you, Rick, so much. It's 1:30. I know we got to let you go and let everybody else go. Any comments before we let them off the hook?
Well, let me just, I'll let you make a comment and then I'll wrap up. One thought.
Can I ask a quick question? Do you think with us officially rolling back into red today, do you think that's going to affect the way we do our jobs?
I think it'll affect, in the long run, I think it's going to affect the economy. I think that the businesses and restaurants are going to have a hard time making it, which obviously impact the real estate industry. I do not see anything in the red, Contra Costa being in the red, or even in other markets, that would prevent us from doing business like we're doing it now. So I don't see any of those restrictions causing us to no longer show property, put homes on the market. Like, I don't see any of that up for discussion. If things continue, we may have, because at one point we could not show an occupied home. Do you remember this? Yeah. At one point you could not walk people through a property. At one point, all showings, I said, had to be virtual. That was really difficult to do. I don't see that existing right now. And I'll try to keep you updated as I see more unfold. So guys, I just want to say this to me is a dream team right here. This is an amazing group of real estate professionals. And it is, I don't get an opportunity to share with you individually nearly as much, but this is a dream team of when people are selling their home, it's a big deal for them. Like, nobody ever forgets their last move. You realize that? You don't forget it. I don't forget it. We all remember our last move. We are the point of contact. You have a transaction coordinator, you have an office manager, you have concierge and marketing, but you are the face to the customer. You are the face to the seller. And I could not be more proud of the group that we have right around this call and the others that couldn't make it here today that are joining our listing group, because I think that the best is really yet to come for our team, because people are now starting to see the value of this specialist model. And I'm hearing things like, I don't want to hire a generalist, I want to hire a specialist. That we're creating that market, and you're going to be in a place to help a lot more people. I think 2021 is going to be a spectacular year. And I think we'll see more listings and more buyer opportunities than we have, each of us, than I have pretty much ever before. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Rick.
Friends, I got to go. I got a 1:30. They're waiting up for me. I'll talk to you real soon. Wendy, be delighted to come back and do this again in the future.
Right. Appreciate it, you guys. Take care. Have a good afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.